Hello and welcome to my channel, In Search of Wonder. My name is Anne and these are my weekly wonderings and wonderings. Where will I go? What will I get into? What will I read? Let's find out. This week, I have a couple of books in progress, of course, as per usual. First of all is A Woman of No Importance by Sonia Parnell, I believe, which is about a female spy / member of the resistance in France during World War II. I am not very far into it. I think I'm still in the first chapter, and it's just kind of laying out her backstory as to how she ended up being in France during World War II for that conflict and how she ended up helping the resistance. So it's interesting, but I'm not very far yet. I am about a third of the way through or so The Heart of Bennett Hollow by Joanne Bischoff, which is a retelling of Pride and Prejudice set in, I don't even know what the town is, where the town is, but it's a coal mining town. I would have said Pennsylvania, but I'm not 100% sure that that's correct. Anyway, a coal mining town in the United States, in rural America somewhere, and has a lot of the same types of characters that Pride and Prejudice has. It's a very close retelling. So far, I'm enjoying it. It's actually shaping up to be one of the better Pride and Prejudice retellings that I have read personally, but I'm enjoying it. And let's see, what else have I got going? Still slowly, when I have a moment, an opportunity, reading through Georgette Heye's Regency World, getting through that one, probably about 50-60% of the way through it. So we'll be finishing up that soon. When I am finished with The Heart of Bennett Hollow, I want to get to, which will hopefully be this week. I have two books that I want to get to. I'll probably start with this one. William Henry is a Fine Name by Kathy Golke. This one would fit both prompts for Jeanette's Jane Reads Christian Fiction Bingo for March, so that will knock out both of those. But I do kind of also want to read this, The Rose and the Thistle by Laura Frantz, which would go for one of the prompts, which was a gifted book, I think. So I would like to get to one or the other of these this week, at least start them. And I also would love to get to The Boy in the Striped Pajamas by John Boyne, which would go for A Child's Tale in Alma's Journey Through Time. Although I did already read Miss Spitfire, which I could use for that prompt if I don't get to this one, but I would really love to get to this one. But it's a little bit lower in priority. Beyond that, I have a couple of other middle grades that are on my radar for middle grade March, that if I don't get to them this week, I might get to them next week. Obviously, I am not reading all of these this week. Where will my mood take me when I'm finished with The Heart of Bennett Hollow? I don't really even know right now, but those are the options. Those are things. Some of them are more higher priority than others, so we'll see what all I get to, and we will find out together. This week is an interesting week because I am at work the first 3 days, but then I'm going to be out of town for the next 3 days. This is Sunday, by the way, when I'm filming this. So Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are kind of normal schedule for me, but then I'm going out of town for 3 days to a ladies' prayer advance, and so I will be, I'm not sure how much reading I will get done during that time. Maybe, I really don't know, and I don't know how much vlogging I'll get done. And this week's vlog, we'll find out if it goes on time or not. We'll see, it might be a day late. So anyway, we have a busy week coming up, a bit of an unusual schedule, stuff going on, so we'll see how it goes. I am looking forward to, they always have books available for sale, primarily Christian nonfiction, well, almost exclusively Christian nonfiction at this prayer retreat, but I always find one or two good books to find it and bring home and add to my ever-growing Christian nonfiction bookshelf. But since I have read multiple books from that shelf, from that TBR this year already, I'm feeling pretty good about that, so I'm not going to feel too bad about bringing home some more, perhaps. We'll see. We'll see if I find something really good. So anyway, that is what I am reading this week, and what my schedule looks like, what my life is going to look like. So let's get it started. It's Monday afternoon and I am home from work already at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So today we had tornado warnings and watches and stuff in the area. So school released 3 hours early. There was apparently funnel clouds in our town. I heard reports of, saw a picture of, but I don't think it touched down anywhere. But definitely very windy. Thunderstorms, etc. So we are home right now, and currently it's just raining. It's not windy, so we'll see what happens. But it's nice to have a little extra time at home and free up my afternoon and evening. Hopefully I'll get a little extra reading done. It's a nice little gift. I am reading The Heart of Bennett Hollow, and I'm more than halfway through. I'm like 70% of the way through, so I would really like to finish that today if I can. So working on that, I am enjoying it overall. It is one of the better Pride and Prejudice adaptations / retellings that I've read. It's not an exact retelling because it leaves out some scenes and characters, but it gets really close. It also changes a little bit of the characters themselves. They're not quite the same people. Like, you could recognize them, obviously, but there are some differences. Like, I don't think that our Lizzie character in this book is quite as feisty as the original, and the Darcy character is a little more of a muted version of himself as well. And I like the setting. The setting is, I think I forgot the place in my last clip, but it's actually Virginia, which is funny because that's where I live. But it's a coal mining town in Virginia. Side note, I didn't know we had those. But anyways, coal mining town in Virginia. And yeah, it's an interesting juxtaposition of a miner's family. Although, okay, sorry, I keep not finishing my sentences, so apologies for that. But I keep having different thoughts popping into my head. Our family, the Bennett family, in this story, the dad is actually a geologist, not a miner. But they're barely eking out a living, and they're very poor in this story. I would have thought, but maybe I'm wrong, because I don't really actually know anything about it, but an actual scientist, like a geologist, I should think would have had better pay and better job security than just the miners, which are the equivalent of like factory workers, right? So I was a little bit confused by that. I don't know how historically accurate that is, or realistic. I really have no idea, honestly, but I wonder about it as I'm reading. And the Darcy character is like a coal baron, so that makes sense. I understand that. Anyway, it's very interesting. It's a lot less of an internal story than Pride and Prejudice, if that makes sense. In Pride and Prejudice, we're looking a lot at our characters' emotions and their inner struggles and their character struggles. That's a huge part of the story. And it's not as much dependent on external forces acting on them, like in terms of plot. Yes, there is some of that. There are some situations and scenarios that take place that kind of force the issue between our two main characters, but so much of the story is their own internal struggle and how they're growing and developing and changing, etc. And in this book, The Heart of Bennett Hollow, there's much more external circumstances forcing the story along, and their internal angst does not last nearly as long. We don't get as deep into it. It's not as much a part of the story. So it makes for, in some ways, like just a lighter read. Like, they're not dwelling on complex emotional things for a very long period of time. They're not living in angst like they're resolving their emotional issues as a lot faster as we go through the story, and it's not taking as long to work through the negative feelings about each other and questions and concerns and interior struggles that they have. It's just not as much about that. It's much more about external pressures happening on our main characters in the story and forcing the story along, if that makes sense. So it's a little bit of a different story being told in that way. Overall, I'm enjoying it. It's a really retelling. It's using the loose framework of Pride and Prejudice to tell the story, and it's good. I'm enjoying it. The style of writing is a little bit, I don't know, not quite as polished, I guess, as I would perhaps like it to be, but it's not bad either. So I don't know, holding out to any final judgment until I actually finish reading. But at this point, I'm enjoying our two main characters. I'm enjoying the story more or less, and it's not Pride and Prejudice, but it's a good story. That's the main thing that I want to finish reading right now and focus on, and also continue working on Regency World, Georgia O'Hare's Regency World, and A Woman of No Importance, which that one I'm not very far into at all. That's my update for now. I'll check in with you later.
Hello, it is Tuesday afternoon, and I was very happy because my evening got rearranged such that I was able to go to my boys' football games, flag football, but it's really cold out there. I don't know what the temperature is, but I braved standing out there for 10 minutes. It felt like an eternity. I don't know if you can tell in my past couple videos that I am fighting something, and I know that is not going to help, standing out there in the wind, like blowing in my face. So I was like, okay, I might go out there a little bit later and brave it again, brave the temperatures again for another little bit. But I can't stand out there for long. So I am feeling like a bad mom, but I'm going to sit here in the relative warmth of my vehicle and tell you about The Heart of Bennett Hollow. I wish I could see the game from here because that would be ideal, but it's like just over that rise over there, and I can't. Anyway, so The Heart of Bennett Hollow, I finished reading yesterday, as I had hoped. And overall, I gave it, I think, 3.5 stars. It was good. It wasn't like the best book I've ever read or the best Pride and Prejudice adaptation that I've read, although it does stand out among others. One, for its unique setting, and for the obvious care and attention that the author took to telling her story. It wasn't just slapped together like so many are, so many of those Jane Austen fan fiction and the like they're just hastily written, not well edited, always. I mean, they're not always well edited. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't, but I was pleased with it in that sense. Obviously the author took care in writing her story, and she obviously had made specific choices to tell her own story using the structure and framework of Pride and Prejudice, but it was her own story, and it was good. So it stands out because of the setting, because it was overall, obviously time and attention was put into it, was well written. I would like to see more authors who generally write their own stories tackle adaptations of one kind or another. It doesn't have to be Pride and Prejudice. It can be anything. It can be Shakespeare. It can be whatever. It's kind of fun to see their own interpretations of these familiar stories. Anyway, the setting was the Virginia coal mine, so that makes it stand out as well, because it's very different from the original setting of Pride and Prejudice, but it's set up for a unique way to tell the story and to involve the class aspect of things. So, because you have the poor miners living in that community, and then you have the wealthy industrialists who are purchasing the land, the mines and stuff like that. So it sets it up well for that. The characters are a little bit different. Like Lizzie, her name is in the story is Lisbeth Bennet. Lisbeth, not Elizabeth. Lisbeth. And she is she is a much quieter, more thoughtful, sweeter version of Lizzie Bennet. She doesn't have the spark or sass of Lizzie, so she's a different character. The Darcy character, his name is William Drake. He's closer to the original Darcy, but he lacks some of the starch. He has the introvertedness down pretty well and the kind of the stern demeanor, but from the beginning you can see that he is kind at heart, and it doesn't take him very long at all to start thawing towards Lizzie and not even necessarily trying to fight it too hard in himself. He kind of gives lip service to that, but he doesn't really. And he just thaws much more quickly than Darcy does in the book. Talking about it makes me want to read it again. Oh, I love that book so much. Anyway, so the characters are a little bit different. They're not cookie cutters of Jane Austen's characters. They also, in my opinion, lack some of the depth, but we can't all be Austen, and character work is her strength. So, you know, it's okay. We won't hold it against anybody if they can't measure up to her. Also, there's like some of the things that the plot turns on, in my opinion, are pretty thin. There's the engagement scene between Lizzie and Drake in this story. The first engagement scene, and the thing that they're fighting about has just been so newly revealed to Lizzie, and she's very upset about it, and she refuses to listen to anything that Mr. Drake says. She hasn't been like that up until this point in the story. It's like a new character aspect for her, and he kind of tries to explain in the spot, but she doesn't really listen. Anyway, that part was a little thin. Some of those things, some of those instances were a little bit thin. So I feel like maybe, I don't know, those aspects of the plot could maybe have been worked through a little bit better. But so that was The Heart of Bennet Hollow. Overall, 3.5 stars. And I finally finished that book for the Jane Reads Christian Fiction bingo. Here we are, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, by the way. And I finally finished it. So, you know, that's okay. It's all good. And right now I'm sitting here reading A Woman of No Importance. I was also reading a little bit of Georgette Heye's Regency World on my Kindle on our way here to the game. And then I have William Henry is a Fine Name by Kathy Golke in my bag, which I had started last night. So I've got a lot going. I'm at the point where I just want to finish Georgette Heye's Regency World, so I'm kind of prioritizing that one. But I also need to make some significant progress on this one, so I need to do that. But first, I need to get some, like, blood flowing back into my fingers. That would be great. So, anyway, that is what I'm doing right now. That is my reading update for today. So, I will check back in when I have more to share.
I realized I can watch from this rise. I can see it, so I can pop in and out of the car. So I can at least catch some of the game. So I'm at the Prayer Advance, as it's called, in Roanoke, Virginia, and I just absolutely love the campus of this church where it's held. The view is amazing, and I look forward to it every year. Just incredible. And just wanted to take this brief chance that I have to share a quick update on what I read. I finished reading Georgette Heye's Regency World, Sorry, it's a little windy here on this mountain. um, Georgette Hare's Regency World, and it was very good, very informative, very thorough. And I think it's the sort of book that would interest you under a couple of different circumstances. If you are the kind of person who loves to know, like you're curious about how people lived in a different time, like daily life, like what did they wear, what did they do for entertainment, what did they eat for dinner, what was their social life like, all of that stuff. If you're curious about the day-to-day, not like big historic events, but like what was actual daily life like in that time period, then it's the perfect book for you, specifically about the Regency era, because it goes into all of that, which I personally find fascinating and interesting. And it also is of interest if you are into, let's say, Regency novels. So there's specifically the Regency era. If, you know, you're reading Regency novels and you want to know about what's realistic and what's not, etc. So it might interest you. And also, of course, if you are interested in Georgette Hare's novels, in particular her Regency novels, and the historic background to her storylines and stuff, I found that very interesting. I have not read all of the books by her that were mentioned in there. If you're concerned about spoilers, some of them might be spoiled, I guess. But I don't retain that kind of information, so that doesn't bother me. But she does reference all throughout the book different circumstances and characters and scenes from the books. So anyway, I found it very interesting, very thorough, enjoyed it. Did take me a bit to finish it, but it was good. On the way here, I read quite a bit of William Henry is a Fine Name, and oh my goodness, guys, that is by Kathy Golke, and that is a hard and heavy read at times. It is set in the antebellum South, and so slavery is a big part of the story. Kathy Golke is examining it from the viewpoint of a variety of characters who have a variety of perspectives on it, and she does it so well. You get to sift through a variety of perspectives on slavery and the complexity of the people who had the different perspectives as well. You know, life isn't always cut and dried, black and white. This is a good person, this is an evil person. A lot of times there's a mix there, and I think that she shows that very well. The complexity of it and the perplexity of it. But also, she's not shying away from truth or hard things either. So it's good, and I'm anxious when I have a moment to get back to it and finish reading it. But it is very hard. I've definitely cried. I've had to put it down a couple of times because it was just things that were happening. There was some pretty heavy scenes in the book that not everybody might be up for. So just a bit of a warning there. Anyway, so that is my brief little update. I hope you enjoyed this gorgeous view as much as I did. See you next time.
Pastor, I work along with him in the church, but as well as that I work in a little Christian bookstore in the town not far from where we live. So I love books. I haven't made it into the bookstore yet, but there's a bookstore out there, isn't there? So I'm looking forward to that. To be honest with you, my case is already on the verge of too heavy, so I don't know if I'll be able to fit any more books in. But anyway, great to be here. Delighted to be able to share. I hope you can understand me. So can I just ask, before we move on, and then we've got to get on to the topic, how many have you been here for more than 2 or 3 years?
Hello. It is actually Saturday evening when I am filming this, and this concluding clip here, I am finally home, and we traveled home after the end of the conference today, and I went straight to my sister's birthday party. And so here I am at home, throwing my shoes in the closet. And I had a marvelous time at the prayer advance that I went to, and I got to meet a subscriber. So that was so fun. She was also at the conference that I went to, and she had heard me mention something about it, and so she thought perhaps I might be there. So she was on the lookout and caught me, and so that was so fun. I got to meet her, and that was very exciting. So anyway, I finished reading William Henry is a Fine Name by Kathy Golke, and it was so good. I've already said a lot about it that I don't have too much more to add to it. I will say a couple things you should probably know about it if you're interested in it. First of all, I would say it's probably YA. It is a coming of age story, a young man. I might even say middle grade, except that it deals with some really heavy things and some pretty traumatic stuff. So you kind of have to know your kid if you're thinking of giving it to a young person to read. But definitely YA in tone and in the things that, it's a coming of age kind of story. But it was gripping and interesting to me as an adult to read it. So it's definitely not only for YA. It's not, and it's written very well. So, and it has depth. So it's not a shallow read or anything like that. I only say it's YA because of the focus of the story. It's very well written, a very good book. But it does have some pretty heavy things that happen in this story due to the nature of the storyline with people being enslaved and plantation owners and dealing with the Underground Railroad and all that kind of stuff. So it kind of gets into heavy aspects of that. So just beware of that before you read it. And it is the first book in a duology, so which I did not know before I started reading it, and I kind of saw it somewhere or somebody mentioned it, or anyway, but then I forgot about it until I got to the end of the story, and I was like, it didn't really feel like a full ending. It ended satisfactorily enough, but there were definitely loose ends, and I was like, oh, interesting. And then I remembered that it was a duology, and there's another book in this series. And in the second book in this series, the boy is several years older. So it skipped some time. And I am curious to read that at some point, but not in the immediate future. But it was definitely a very good read. So highly recommend that one for sure. I didn't get much read today. I was just really tired on the way back. And I read a little bit in A Woman of No Importance. But other than that, I haven't really read a great deal. I did kind of start Sense and Suitability by Pepper Basham. Again, haven't gotten very far. So I just wanted to wrap this up real quick and get it uploaded and onto YouTube before tomorrow, which is today for you. So that's it. That's what I did this week. I had a marvelous time at the Ladies' Prayer Advance, and I hope that you all are doing well. And please let me know in the comments what you're reading, or if you have any thoughts about what I've been reading, and let's chat there, and I'll see you next time. Bye.